Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first official episode of the Modcast. I am Modthorn, or the Eevee Breeder, or Clover, or one of the other billion pseudonyms I probably have. And I am here today with my co-hosts.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hello.
I'm Co-Mod, also known as I'm Nobody You Know, also known as Mod Ryu, short for Inosuke.
And Gamer James.
And Gamer James, but that's supposed to be a secret, so thanks for spoiling that.
Oh, sorry!
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I didn't tell you. It's fine. Probably nobody's gonna care anyway.
There we go. Now there's not going to be any road noise.
Anyway, now that that's out of the way.
Sorry.
It's fine.
And I'm Chief Mod Edgeworth, or Chief for short. I'll probably reveal what my username is maybe once I do would it really be called a face reveal?
I mean, are you showing your face?
No.
Then no.
I guess maybe account or gender reveal, I guess.
Yeah.
That works. Speaking of faces, I just noticed that my avatar here is missing a mustache.
He has a mustache.
On the picture?
Yeah. It's very thin, but I can't do much
that's what
better.
I thought that was his mouth. That's my mistake.
Sorry.
I love it. Okay, I'm done.
That program is very limited, so I did my best.
It works.
Yeah. Okay. I'm very excited to do this episode and also to get it out of the way. We're going to rip this bandage off. We're talking about Spirit of Justice today.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh boy, are there opinions. This is going to be a spicy one.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of opinions. Could you wait while I try to get this recorder on?
Sure, no problem. In fact, I can probably start with an overview of what's I'm going to have to set the timer while I start with an overview, because this podcast is probably going to get a little bit heated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
But in each case, before we even started, we might as well just butter up each of these cases before we roast them like rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, there's very little good. There's very little good, but we're gonna talk about the good first.
Yeah. No.
Well, I mean, there is good, but they have nothing to do with the plot. That's the problem.
Also, we have the what's the opposite of the devil's advocate? The I guess. Well, no, I can't say God's advocate because that's probably blasphemy. We have the angel's advocate on over here because, James, you actually don't mind the game very much.
Well, I was going to say, I would give it a 9 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10 at lowest.
Really?
There's a lot.
I would probably be both. It's like there's a lot I like about it, but also a lot that frustrates me. So would that make me half angel, half demon?
You would, yeah. You're the wild card, I guess. I was gonna say jack of all trades, but that doesn't really apply here.
Like Edgeworth, I'm the wild card.
Meanwhile, over here, I have such fierce opinions that I have banned myself from talking about the game.
Yeah,
I hate it that much.
Yeah, so hopefully you'll stop after this podcast, right?
Yeah, this time whenever I have anything to say, I'll send it to this. I'll just send them this episode.
Yeah. Take that.
We ready?
Yeah, we can
Channeling our disappointment.
Start from the start. The first one is the foreign turnabout.
Oh boy.
Right,
we did talk a little bit about it when we were talking about the tutorials, but
yeah,
I don't think we really. Well, it's kind of like we were only briefly talking about it, and we were comparing it to most of the other tutorials, mostly. Yeah.
Comparing it to the other tutorials, it is objectively bad, but comparing it to the rest of the game...
Oh, yes, no doubt. It is objective. It's not as bad as the Lost Turnabout, but I would argue that at least the Lost Turnabout had was one of those bad episodes where that probably is what actually makes it even slightly more better than this one. Like, there are some... It's kind of like one of those, either it's so bad or that it's good, or it's so bad that it's memorably bad. And The Lost Turnabout, I could maybe, like, all I have to do is just say, right with Amnesia, and you would already know which one I'm talking about.
Well, actually, I would argue I actually would not, because I've forgotten that case on multiple occasions. This case I haven't forgotten, because talking about the positives, it has Peace, Love, and Understanding, who is absolutely hilarious.
Yes, basically. I remember the mod calling him Sitar Jesus, basically.
Sitar Jesus.
Yeah, he is Sitar. Guitar Rock Jesus.
The first time I saw him, I was like, why is Jesus playing the guitar to me?
Why is he rocking with those stereos?
Oh, he kicked so much butt. I loved him.
Yep. Me too.
Okay, we already mentioned.
Yeah,
we already mentioned in the last podcast of how good he was, but I don't think we really talked as much about Gaspin Payne.
Oh, like Gaspin.
In Dual Destinies, when we were first introduced to Gaspin Payne, I thought he was okay. Like, he was just he was a jackass and a jackwad to Athena. That cannot compare.
I was going to say,
that cannot compare to the shit he did to Phoenix in this one, and I absolutely love it.
I'm going to be real. I didn't remember he was in... I'm going to be real. Like, the first game, I don't remember him being anything other than, like, a bigger dick than his brother. Like, he was just...
Yeah.
It's Winston Payne with slightly more presence.
Yeah, like Winston.
Yeah.
But I prefer Winston because he's a dick sometimes, but he's at least like nice. Like, he's a wimp, you know? Like, he quits easy.
Yeah, I do prefer Winston Payne still, but you gotta admit, like, Gaspin.
He's got really, chutzpah.
Like, Gaspin was probably at his best in the Foreign Turnabout, not just because he was wearing a crown on his head, but he literally tricked a Phoenix and talked him into the gallows, basically.
Yeah, he was like, defend, I dare you, and then he did, and he was like, ha, if you lose, you die.
Also, I just love that.
I'm probably alone on this, but I thought Albie was adorable as a defendant.
No, I thought so, too.
He was.
I think he was perfect for the first defendant, and I'm gonna... But not as good later on. I just think he served his purpose and should have stayed where he was.
Yeah,
another thing, which, goes to another thing I really liked about it, which is that, that as a tutorial, this does set, Phoenix's character and why he became a defense attorney in the first place. And I think that the idea of him, going to going to a foreign land with different laws and policies that are much extreme than his, that go against his principles, is a very great way of placing Phoenix after the trilogy. Because, after the trilogy, it's like, okay, now what? What do we do with Phoenix? He already has his character arc and everything. So now what? Well,
yeah, I'll give you that. It does show off, like, he wants to do a good job at his job, no matter where he is and no matter who he defends. I will agree that is something that game does.
Yeah. Don't worry. I will get to the other stuff, but to butter this up, that is a great way. It is a great idea. It is a great idea.
My only issue with that, and this is just for me, is I just don't like him in either of the 3D games because of what happened in the final 2D game. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we will. Because there is something I don't, there is something I don't like about how Spirit of Justice did it. But as far as using the idea, as far as establishing from the tutorial, Phoenix and Albie, they were just, enjoying the festival and everything, and then suddenly, Albie is taken, he's basically dragged into a kangaroo court, like a sack of potatoes, and do his parents even know he's just a little boy? What the heck?
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, what were you going to say, James?
Do we have some pictures to go with this?
I think we
If you want
decided
to.
they weren't necessary, but I can
Okay.
send them.
Well,
Well,
that's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I did send images of the title card, which is another thing I also like about Spirit of Justice. It did improve on the animation compared to Dual Destinies, but that's comparing to Dual Destinies. That's not comparing to any of the other games. That's just comparing to Dual Destinies.
Well,
I don't feel like Phoenix is being cringy.
The games should have been 2D, is basically what you're saying. Like, the game should have stayed 2D, and I agree. It's the same thing I had with, it's the same thing I had with Professor Layton. Like, the Miracle Mask is butt ugly. I love that series, but that game is butt ugly.
Yeah.
Or if they were going to do 2D, then to take a page out of the Professor Layton crossover, because that animation was very beautiful.
That game was gorgeous, but I think it was partially gorgeous because of how stylized it was.
Oh, it was super stylized. So let's all agree that as far as the 3D department, we should, place that on the team that was in charge of the animation to the Professor Layton crossover and the Great Ace Attorney.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was great. But Dual Destinies, no, Spirit of Justice compared to Dual Destinies, it's better.
Prettier.
But
it is better.
A lot better.
It's much prettier. I mean, there's still some problems with the animation, but compared to Dual Destinies, it is a lot better.
A lot of improvement.
James wants to say a thing.
On that subject, thanks. I was just going to mention one of my favorite things about the whole game, which we get introduced to in Foreign Turnabout, is the divination seance. The animation in that is.
Oh, okay.
The
video.
It's a video, basically.
The idea,
watching a video and
the animation, the concept, that was awesome. The execution,
I love that so much.
We'll get to the execution.
Of the ideas, the ideas are really good. Like, everything from the plot to the characters to basically everything, they were all good ideas. Like, they were really good ideas. And we can all agree that as far as the music is concerned, like, that's a no-brainer. It's always going to be good, no matter how.
Are we talking about the dance Rafa does before the?
Are we? No, I'm talking about the music in general.
I wouldn't put them words in my mouth, Sonny.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not as good as the other games, but
personal hot take. I hated that game's music.
Really? All of it, or just most of it?
Well, okay, I'm gonna be real. There is exactly two songs I like, I think, and it might only be one, and it's the divination seance music. That's the only music I like, and I think there's an extended version that played over the credits that is my favorite version of the two. That is the only song I like. Every other song I hated.
I mean, I'll admit that the objection songs, I would argue that all the objection songs were better than the ones in Dual Destinies.
I don't remember any of the songs from those 2 3D games that objection and whatever. The only objection music I remember is the 2001 one.
Yeah.
The music I'm thinking that you're saying is awful is probably the one the Confessing the Truth and the
the one the two that come to my mind when I say terrible are are Plumbed Punisher, which is supposed to be bad, so I am that's that one doesn't count.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
The 2016 version and the 2016 remakes of Turnabout Sisters and the Butts' theme. Both of them are terrible. Both of them are synthesized.
I don't remember any of those. But those are not the first ones I think of.
Those are the first ones I think of, and I hate them with a passion. They're so bad.
No, in every game, the first thing I think of when I think about the music is the objections, the pursuits. Pursuit in Spirit of Justice isn't as good as Dual Destinies, but it's still pretty good. the objection songs definitely are better than the ones in Dual Destinies, in my opinion. And let's see. I also think that
when I think of video game music when I think of the music in Ace Attorney, there is exactly one song that comes to mind, and I'll give you one guess as to what it is.
I think it's so obvious it doesn't deserve to be mentioned.
Exactly.
Let's start with a D and end with
this song I remember called Corner.
Ollie Hawthorne's theme.
Which is kind of like, which is only played when there's a lot of suspense going on in the trials of Spirit of Justice.
Oh, the suspense music? The suspense music is always good, though.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, is that those kind of musics are very good. There's no competition. You often hear them in the Ace Attorney orchestras.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
I still think I'm a bias for the 2001 version. Sorry, James. What were you saying?
I'm starting to think we should have done some music research before we started this because so much of it we don't remember.
Oh, as a musician, I already know if I were to go and listen to those soundtracks, though, I would flip a table. As good as it might be, I don't like I do not like them.
Yeah, I at least like the Oriental flavor some of it has, being in being in an Eastern country.
Yeah.
I listen to some of these, because I will go to YouTube and then I will play like the Reminiscence songs, and some of the ones
like the SL9 and whatever.
Yeah, and some of the ones I liked were actually from Spirit of Justice, like Rite of the Turnabout and stuff.
I might have to re-listen to that soundtrack then. I might be giving that soundtrack worse.
Yeah, because you're just thinking only 3 of them.
That's true.
But I barely even remember.
But here's the thing: is the only reason I remember those songs is because of how bad they are. The other songs I just didn't care. I guess I was like, oh, they're in every game. So I didn't notice until I started streaming the games. I was like, oh wow, these songs all do change. But I like the 2001 version the most every time.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit that Maya's song isn't what I would listen to really. I prefer the Turnabout Sisters from the 2001 or the original.
Yeah. We all prefer the 2001 for that version.
Some things can't be remade.
Pearl song, which was mostly from Dual Destinies, but I didn't mind the updated version. It wasn't the best, but I didn't mind it.
We should probably talk about the turnabout.
Oh, we will when we get to it.
No,
I think we've already buttered. Yeah, I think we've already buttered the foreign turnabout good enough. Don't you think?
That's what it's called, foreign turnabout. I totally forgot the names of all these cases.
The tutorial.
Give me a second.
Let's roast the tutorial now. It's already buttered.
Oh, it's terrible, dude. I feel so bad because it's honestly, out of all of them, it's not even how do I describe it? It's bad because first of all, I had to look up a walkthrough to get through it, which you shouldn't have to do. Yeah.
The divination seance, the gameplay. My goodness.
Yeah, the concept is of the turnabout of the seance is awesome. The concept is awesome. The music is awesome.
Yes.
The actual gameplay is complete dog shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. Do some careful thinking.
It's so and I think what makes it difficult is that when you compare it to other new gameplays, like the Professor Layton crossover, it's you can at least focus on what the statements are being said and some of the things that are out because each new thing, it guides you through it and you're able to spot it one thing at a time. Whereas with the divination seance, it feels like you have to pay attention to every single corner crevice of that thing, and it's
and that's
basically multitasking on a whole new level.
Yeah. It's such a headache.
Kind of like watching the videos in the Rise from the Ashes. You have to pause it and find the right spot to present.
Those videos from Rise from the Ashes. That I feel so bad about Rise from the Ashes. Everyone hates it because of the new concepts it brought in, but it's not even as bad. Play all of Spirit of Justice.
No, it's not even close to being as bad.
You will play even one case of Spirit of Justice, and you will apologize.
Do Rise from the Ashes, could have gone through it pretty good.
Oh yeah, no. If you play Spirit of Justice first, like you're good. It's so bad. I'm sorry. The other problem I have with it and with this that is unfortunately, and this is a recurring thing, so I might bring her up every time. Rafa is, I really hate to say this. Rafa is at her most tolerable in the foreign turnabout, and that's not a good thing.
Oh.
Oh, really? And
because she's still a brat. That's the problem.
I know, and they almost do nothing with her, but I will get to that when we get to the other ones. But as far as the foreign turnabout goes, like, she did her role pretty well, you know?
Like, she was in there, she was out of there, we're fine. Like, that's how she should have been kept the entire game.
One thing I liked was how she got out of there. She was dragged out of there, shouting, then we'll do this to you, and then.
Yeah, like, her...
Yeah, and... Her brattiness,
we just have to imagine that.
Her brattiness is adorable in small doses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have to have her follow you around, and that's not so fun.
In the foreign turnabout, like, I don't think there was anything I would have changed to that, because it basically demonstrated how much she was used to, you know, always getting her way, always winning, always finding the criminal. And to find out that, wait a second, maybe it's not as clear as you think it is, and she isn't getting her way, like, that already establishes the basic of her character, which is what you need to do in the tutorial. But another thing I also have to roast this for, and I'm going to compare this to Professor Layton. In the Professor Layton crossover, when Phoenix also went to a new country, or basically an island of some sort, with, you know, a justice system and, you know, laws and regulations that were completely different from what he's used to, that go against his morals. However, there's a huge difference. In that one, you actually felt like he was being handicapped. Like, he couldn't use forensics, he couldn't use fingerprints, he couldn't use anything. Well, he had to use what was in front of him. He had to use illustrations, drawings of, you know, things going on, which makes it more handicapped than even with Ryunosuke. He had to use... he had to use, like, a spell book. He had to learn how to use a spell book. He had to understand how witchcraft worked, how the spells worked, and everything.
Yes.
In this one, the only thing he has to learn is how to do a divination seance, and that's it. The rest of it, it's the same as any other game. It's the same as any other game, and that's why it's so forgivable.
You also have to fight for your life, but that's it, really.
If I may.
Go ahead.
The problem I've had really with it is the reason why the Ace Attorney crossover with Professor Layton works is because technically the world was brainwashed. That, like, what is it called? Labyrinthia? It's been a while since I played it. It's Labyrinthia is supposedly taking place in medieval times. That's kind of why this game doesn't have those excuses, and therefore him being stripped of these things doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Literally, like even in terms of religion, there's no reason. It's a third world
country sort of thing. You know, that's what I got out of it. But other than that, it's like,
it's bad.
You know.
But I'll tell you.
Okay, you had Emma Skye there doing those investigations.
No. Don't even get me started on Emma being in that until we get to that goddamn case.
Don't worry. We'll get to that in the next other trials. But it's like it's like in this country that's supposed to be third world, yet they have, like, forensics. They have basically the same thing that we get from California, aka Japanfornia. We basically get the same things. The only difference is the divination seance. I never really felt that. I never really felt I was going into a different country where these divination seance were the only things they ever used to determine if a person was guilty or not guilty. I never got that.
It was,
that doesn't make sense. Like, I agree.
Yeah,
and they haven't had a not guilty verdict for 15 years. Like, what is the point of having a courtroom then?
Yeah, there's no point.
We get to the guilty verdict one in the red, the turnabout. Oh my goodness, I've got.
Oh, you know what else I realized that the first case did really well though with Gaspin? They used Gaspin instead of the other guy, and we'll get to him in the next case. But I want to talk about one other thing I hate about the first case. The freaking what was it? Shoot. This is a personal thing. This has nothing to do with the actual game, but I remember I went to PAX in 2016. And in that PAX, there was a kiosk to play the demo, like their current demo for Spirit of Justice.
Really?
And it was, and there was only a small section of the first case that you could play. But I very, very distinctly remember that in that very small case, you were doing both I'll Be Your Guide and Pearl Fey next to each other, akin to Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright.
Okay.
And I remember being so excited to go into the game and play it like that when it didn't happen, I was very confused. I was like, what the hell? This is a really cool thing.
So you were hoping for multiple witnesses or something?
Yeah, I was hoping to do that, questioning the thing.
Oh my gosh, that would have made it so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just, that's just a personal thing. I remember that so distinctly, though.
And I think the problem is that the team in charge of Spirit of Justice, I don't think that they're the same team that ever did the Ace Attorney trilogy, or even the ones that did the Great Ace Attorney. It seemed like that these are two different teams. Like, one is doing the Great Ace Attorney over here, and the other one is doing Spirit of Justice. And it doesn't help that the Great Ace Attorney and Spirit of Justice came almost around the same decade.
Yeah, it was definitely an A-team, B-team type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was...
And I get the feeling that the original team that did, the first trilogy, from, Ace Attorney to Trials and Tribulations, I get the feeling that team that did that one just ended up being on B-team. Basically.
Yeah,
the one
absolutely.
that...
They were like, we want to make a spin-off. We don't need you anymore. We're doing it with a new team because it's 3D. Get out of here.
Yeah, because we don't know.
And then the side game ended up being better.
Hey, you guys do that one. Do that piece of garbage, and we'll just do the better ones. Because the spin-offs, ever since Apollo Justice, the spin-offs have always been royally better than the original.
No, it wasn't that the B team said, screw you, we're making side games. It was that the higher-ups
no, that's just me joking. That's me joking.
Yeah, I know, but it was more the higher-ups being like, screw you, we don't want you to work on the main games because Apollo Justice was a flop, so you make side games and we'll have a new team make the 3D games, and they were like, that's a bad idea.
Another thing that I think is what I think is the main reason why Spirit of Justice and Dual Destinies were doomed to fail even from the start is because I always felt that both those games weren't made for any other reason other than to fix Apollo Justice.
Yep.
That's what I believe is going on.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to fix Apollo Justice and were so focused on it that they forgot everything else.
And if we want to... I hate to move this on to the next case, but we've already spent 30 minutes talking about the foreign turnout.
I was
believe me, like what I said there, it also goes for any other case. But yeah, let's go to the magical turnabout, which...
Okay, can I say something about the the magical turnabout?
Go ahead.
I understand why people don't like it, and I understand why both of you have a bunch of issues with it. It's same characters, just a different story.
Oh, you'll see.
With the same characters, recycling...
Oh, it's not that. It's not that. We'll get into my issues. Continue.
Okay, but I just loved it so much.
Stuff out of the way. Let's get the good stuff out of the way. Let's butter it up.
Yeah.
First off,
what I loved about it.
Let James.
What I loved about it was, well, I forgot. I loved just the whole plot. Learning more about troop grammary. Yeah. Even if it is, it's kind of an old concept, but still learning more about it and learning more about Trucy's.
I'm gonna be real.
Why she's still.
This is the first time I've ever heard it pronounced grammary.
That's how it's pronounced, I think. And
grammary. I don't even know anymore.
I pronounced it.
I looked it up. It's grammary. Wow. It's grammary. Anyway.
I said grammary.
But it was kind of for me. It was kind of a like backstory that for Troop Memory that wasn't quite finished. Not only is Trucy still here, but also a guy who was part of the troop, but then got kicked out. He's not only still around, he's still got a score to settle.
Yeah.
So kind of like.
Oh yeah, and I love that they made Roger Rentes as the villain. Like, I think he should have been the main villain because, man, does he have presence.
He's the only one who has presence. Well, like,
he has so much presence.
I'm gonna say this now because out of every case in Spirit of Justice, this is the one I dislike the least. Like, this is the one I like the most, which is not saying much because I don't like any of them, but I like this one the most. I think part of it has to do with the fact that it is Apollo as the main character, and I have a huge bias for that. Part of it is that there's no Kuranese stuff, which again, huge bias, but a part of it is that it felt the closest to a traditional original trilogy case, almost.
Yes, like it did.
Do you know, this felt to me like, what is it? Which one is the one with Eenie Meenie? Turnabout Reunion?
Reunion and Turnabout.
Yeah, Reunion and Turnabout. This felt like Apollo and Trucy's Reunion and Turnabout. So
yeah, Turnabout Reunion, that's what it's called.
Any of them, like every one of the other ones felt like super blah and I don't care and
but in this one you actually get into the character of Trucy in ways you never did in the other ones. And this one felt like they cared about Trucy, which is very important. The freaking witnesses, I'm gonna be real, I love the Defam twins. They're
Me too.
They're the best 3D witnesses ever. I love them. Betty is my favorite, obviously.
Yeah, I love that they both kind of hop up and down.
Also,
in a way. And I especially love the plot line of Justice Case Alone. Like of Justice Case Alone, I really like the plot line to it. Like the idea that, Trucy is getting big, she's becoming more successful, and then suddenly she gets framed for murder.
Yeah, she's getting popular. This is when it would hurt the most.
Yes, and it really hurts her in a more personal level. And I think this is a really great... And this is one of those things where... And this is something I only found out because I'm one of those people that whenever I play a case, I like to, present everything to the witnesses and stuff. But there's one part I remember where Apollo asks Trucy, what do you plan on doing if, being a magician doesn't work out? And then she says, I guess I'll become a lawyer.
Aww.
Ooh.
And
that's so sweet and naive.
Gosh. I'm like, whoa! I didn't see that coming.
That came out.
Of course, it's just an forethought, I guess, but just a side thought. But that is pretty deep.
It's adorable.
Yeah,
like this case, it has the best potential, and that's the only. I think that's the reason why it disappoints me, because I do have issues with it, and it makes the issues I have though are very personal. Like in terms of it being a case, if okay, how do I put this? If this was your first Ace Attorney case, it would be just fine. I think it would be enough to hook you on the game. I do agree.
Yeah.
It's just that as a long-term fan, I do have a lot of major issues with it.
Oh, don't worry. I have issues with it too.
But I do.
Can I say one nice thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
There is a lot of things that I love about this.
Yeah, can I say one more nice thing? Yeah. At least one nice thing before we get to roasting it. I think out of all the breakdowns in the game, this one has my favorite.
Which one?
Because Roger, Magical Turnabout. Because Roger Ratens, his whole reason for hating the Troop Gremory is he wanted to be famous, and they took that chance from him. So at the end, he's already famous in a different way, but now he's famous and a murderer. He gets his moment in the spotlight, but it's not quite the way he pictured it.
Yeah.
Now it's more like police lights on him.
So good.
Like,
yeah.
No, I'm the victim here.
Yeah, he's the best villain out of all the villains there.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Him saying when he said he was when he like basically claimed he was the victim. Oh my god, I wanted to punch him.
Yeah.
But that is how a lot of people think, and I think that's one of the things that makes him have so much presence, because he actually was at one point, but he let that bitterness get to him, you know? And I think it's a really great setup for a villain. And as I said, he is one of the best villains, and I think that his type should have been the main villain, but again, this is in another point. It has nothing to do with Spirit of Justice. But I also have other good things to say about it. Like, I also like the setup and how Trucy was framed for murder. Like, the setup was absolutely brilliant.
Well, because, like, Man of Mystery,
you could actually believe that Trucy would be thwarted by that.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like, she would never have ever imagined it. And to me, this is a good setup. And remember when I was saying, you know, about that little part where Trucy said that if, you know, being a magician doesn't work for her, she would become a lawyer?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that made me think, is it possible that maybe Trucy might be thinking about going into law school and becoming a magician and a lawyer at the same time? Kind of pulling a Javierso.
God, I hope not.
The problem with that is who would trust an illusionist who's also a lawyer?
Who? Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, it could work. I mean, it worked for Claudia.
My question is similar. It's less who would trust an illusionist lawyer and more who would trust a lawyer that is technically related to what's-his-face, Grumire, who who his only case was had forged evidence in it. Like, that's the thing that I think would come back to haunt her, is her dad, her biological dad.
That would provide good motivation for her,
which is
also.
why I think that the idea that if she was to become a lawyer and had her own game, I think that would be an interesting way to go about it.
I disagree entirely.
This would be a good motivation for her, but that's just me, and I think it would just, you know, all come down to how the game would be made and so forth, because it's always like execution that matters, you know, at the end of the day, because you can take something that seems terrible and actually make it good. I
severely don't want Trucy to become a lawyer just because Trucy is Trucy. I think she's good where she's at.
Yeah. So are we on the roasting part yet? Because I do have one more good thing to say.
Yeah, go ahead. Say one more.
Yeah, we can do it now. I've already gotten mine out of the way.
Say your one last good thing before I own this case.
There's a plot twist that I didn't see coming. It looked like Betty was the one who wanted Trucy to be framed for murder, and maybe she was actually the culprit.
Yeah,
and
that
Roger was like, "Oh, it's so sweet," and it's just the opposite.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Actually,
the sucker, the guy who looked like the sucker, was really the guy, and she was the sucker.
Yeah, I thought Betty was the killer at first, and I was like, yay, another evil twin murderer, and then she wasn't, and I was like, yay, another evil twin that's not a murderer.
Yeah. She was pretty bad about it at the end too, so that was pretty cool.
I'm going to.
She's not as evil as she looks.
To me,
I'm ready to rip this case a new one.
Go right ahead. I'm done.
Yeah. I want to start off with Betty. I think Betty was so confusing as a character. Like,
really?
I
loved her.
I think we were trying to make her a tsundere type of character, but
you know what
oh my goodness.
You know what she felt like to me a little bit? Now that I'm thinking about it, Bonnie and Betty both really remind me of the Hawthorne twins. Just watered down and like watered down a bit.
Yeah.
Because obviously she, like, Bonnie is a little less, like, innocent, sweet girl than Iris. She's actually willing to do tricks with her sister. Meanwhile, her sister is not a psychopathic redheaded murderer.
not just come
like it did kind of feel like a watered down version, and you'll see that in a lot of Spirit of Justice, where a lot of things feel like a watered down version of something that was much better.
Oh, but that's the thing, is like, compared to the other watered downs, which we'll get to in a minute, I felt like these two I liked because they were watered down but also original. They weren't the Hawthorne twins doing the Hawthorne twins. They were the Betty
it didn't feel like
They were the defendants.
I think the only thing that made them like watered down of the Hawthorne twins was just the reveal. The reveal kind of felt too much like.
It was totally the evil twin trope, and it's totally Dahlia and Iris, but I liked it.
Yeah.
My
and it kind of annoyed me when Apollo was pointing it out, and everyone was like, "Oh, that could never happen," and I'm just like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, everyone's like, "That can't be." It's even funnier when you realize that the bearded judge is the one who's judging this, and he's like, "That's never happened." And I'm like, "Are you stupid?"
Yeah, he's forgetful.
Sorry, to quote Dahlia, hey, sorry, to quote Dahlia herself, hey, you, old man, are you senile or something? Like, I
feel like that Dahlia at that moment was coming out and saying, "What am I, chopped liver?"
Yeah, but we're not talking about my baby yet. I'm gonna save her from if we ever have a podcast on my birthday. But my biggest gripe with this case is Trucy. Mm-hmm. I really hate to say it. Not her as a character. She's amazing as a character. My biggest problem is any time a recurring important major character is accused of murder in these games, all tension is thrown out the window. Like, I no longer have to give a shit because as if I were in the universe, I'd be upset, but outside the universe and as a future game developer, I know that Capcom's not going to get rid of their main characters. Capcom doesn't want to get rid of one of their cash cows. Capcom isn't going to make this big twist of this girl who was raised by a lawyer almost all her life is now a killer. Like, they're not going to do that. I know that. And that's what makes the whole case fall apart. Because I sit here and I'm like, okay, I know she's not the killer, so I don't care. I'm just figuring out who is. And because I don't know the murder victim, I'm not interested. This is similar thing is...
Yeah, I do admit that as far as, like, they did it right when it came to, like, giving Trucy character development and giving you somewhat of a reason to care. But it's like, I think that the other games did it better with Maya.
I want to compare. Yeah, I want to compare this actually. What is the name of the final case in the Grady's Attorney's second game? The one with Barrick in it? Like,
oh, you mean Farewell My Tournament?
No, the one with Barrick where Gregson gets murdered. Spoilers.
Twisted Karma and its last bow?
That one. Yes. The reason I want to compare that to this is because that one did it right. Like, obviously we knew Barrick wasn't going to kill him because that's not Barrick. We've known him for 2 games now. He's a racist son of a bitch, but he's not a killer. But the game made me care by killing Gregson, and I wanted to get revenge for Gregson, or I wanted to avenge him. That's what the game did right. They didn't do that with this game. I did not care because I didn't know what's his face, Man of Mystery.
Yeah,
that's fair. I think I'm just easier to please because, like, okay, I know Trucy didn't do it, and she had no reason to. But who would frame her and how and why?
I guess.
I also want to compare it to, like, some of the other games where, because I think that the better comparison would probably be Maya, because Maya has been framed for murder more times than to the point that it's basically a meme of itself. But at the same time, all of those cases, like, you at least cared about it. Like, and I'm going to go to every single one of them. Like, I mean, obviously the first time was, when she was being first introduced. But let's actually go to the other ones, like Turnabout Reunion. You actually cared about it because she thought she was the killer. She thought that when she channeled the spirit, that the spirit went rogue and killed Dr. Gray.
Yeah, like, she believed she was responsible, and that's why you care, is because, like, she actually thinks she's guilty, so you have to prove it to everyone and her. And her, yeah. But also, that case is also intriguing because it introduces a lot of other concepts. It introduced Pearl, Morgan, channeling, the whole thing with the fucking murdering each other to become the lead family. Don't think I forgot about that. Oh my god.
Yeah, and, it did come, and then it did, like, come back, in Trials and Tribulations.
Exactly.
But also, in this one, I think that, the Magical Turnabout did try to do that with having Trucy starting to doubt herself, but it kind of felt one of those, she's only going to doubt herself for just one moment before, Apollo comes and, cheers her up, and then she's back to normal. With Maya, I never got that in Turnabout, because she felt that way throughout most of the time until, like, even when she was channeling her, it was actually mostly Mia, when she was channeling Mia, that Mia actually was actually the one that became doubtful, that it was Maya, or that Maya even channeled anyone to begin with, because, until the very trial, Maya thought that she really did channel somebody, and that somebody had... Yeah, she didn't know she was unconscious.
Well, yeah, she
because,
was because,
when you kill someone, you basically go unconscious. That's just how it is.
That's, my biggest thing with that's the biggest thing with that is, like, every case where except in Spirit of Justice, but we'll get to that one next. In those two cases, there are reasons to keep going for Maya's sake. In the first game, it's like you want to find out who killed Mia because Mia is clearly important. In the second game is you want to save Maya because Maya is clearly important, and you're learning other things about other people that rely on her, like Pearl. And, you care. That's the thing. Like, she's going to be innocent, but you care. This game, I can't care.
Yeah, because Trucy isn't even, like, isn't even the co-counsel anymore, like she was during, Apollo Justice. And maybe if she was still the co-counsel, then maybe we would care about her more.
But
and
she's
I also
basically
want
just been delegated to side character.
I also want to bring up the Professor Layton crossover, because that one, Maya also gets accused of being a witch in that one as well. And then that one... Yeah, and I remember that one, and for one reason and one reason only. Like, that one was actually one of the best ones, because, not only was Maya, framed for being a witch, but even Luke believed that she was the one who killed...
Well, that was grief.
Leave
my boy alone.
He became a witness in it. He was like one of the witnesses that Phoenix had to cross-examine. And then at the end, like the end is what made that one stick, is Espella. Is that after we find out who the real witch is, it's like this witch was just an innocent little girl that was scared, and Espella, in order to save her, sacrifices herself. And so what Maya does is that she leaps onto the thing, gets Espella to escape, and then gets trapped in herself, making us think that she was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we knew she wasn't dead.
To me, that's how you do it. Like,
I disagree.
And Phoenix was so pissed off. Like, Phoenix never does this.
Didn't he punch the guy? Didn't he punch Zach?
He almost did!
No, he just got in his face.
The only time Phoenix ever was so close to punching a bitch was...
Yeah, except he's a coward, because guess what? He's a coward because guess what? At least Apollo actually punched the guy.
That's a good point.
But that's kind of in Phoenix's character. He's kind of like Yugi Moto. He doesn't like violence. You know what I mean? And sometimes you have to take that's part of their character. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to compare to Yugi, but I just wanted to say that, I've always considered that was just part of Phoenix's character. He's not the kind to punch a bitch, much like Ryunosuke isn't the kind of person that's going to punch a bitch. Even though he can shoot with a bow and arrow.
What were you going to say, James? James?
Speaking of characters you want to punch, we're introduced to one in Magical Turnabout.
Which one?
Oh, you mean Roger?
Prosecutor.
The prosecutor?
Oh my goodness!
Why do...
I have my soapbox now.
Why do we want to punch Nayuta? Let me count the ways after you're done, young Manny girl, because I'm sure a lot of our... Because I'm sure a lot... Partially because I knew you wanted to talk about this, and partially because I'm pretty sure most of our points are going to coincide.
Okay.
I like him better than some prosecutors, but don't like him a lot.
Okay, I'm just gonna wait until I can finally say. Okay, first off, Utah is one of the most boring ass.
Yep.
Like Edgeworth. He's basically a rip-off of Edgeworth, like a mellowed, most watered-down version of Edgeworth I have ever seen in my life. Like,
I knew you were going to go there.
Other prosecutors, comparing to the other prosecutors, this one is so boring.
Oh yeah, no.
This one is so like. I'm not even finishing. I have so much to say.
No, that's fair. So I was just going to say, I knew the first thing you were going to bring up was how boring he is, because that's the first thing I notice every time I think about him.
Yes! He is so boring. And the worst part of it is that, unlike all of the other prosecutors, where you don't really get their backstory until the end, with Nayuta, he feels like another fucking prosecutor of the week. That's what he feels like. Like, even his own introduction is the same sort of introduction we get from every other prosecutor. What do they do in their first introduction? Okay, it's just 3 dots. They don't say anything just to make themselves look super intimidating. And then when the defense asked, are you going to say something? They said, then he's like, oh, no, I'm just praying. I'm like, are you? Like,
yeah.
So
that's one of my thing is like every prosecutor has a gimmick. I get that. Even Edgeworth, who's very like cookie cutter sometimes, has a gimmick. Everyone has one, and his gimmick is so lame. Like, not to offend religious people. Jesus, I have to say that.
Like, you want to know how much of a ripoff that Nayuta is? He is such a ripoff. All I'm gonna say that. Like, you cannot tell me that his design was not based off of fucking Elsa from Frozen.
Oh.
You cannot tell me that
I have no
that's
objection.
not the case.
I have no objection to that.
Personally, I think
is let it go and move on. Like, are you serious? Frozen came in 2013. This came in 2016. You cannot tell me he's not a ripoff.
No, I personally think that Nayuta was based almost entirely on the idea of if Dahlia was a boy and had not left Khura'in, because he's got the same braid, he's got the stupid veil, he's super Khura'inese and peaceful like Iris is. Like, he's just a male Khura'inese. Exactly, he's just a male Khura'inese Dahlia, and I hate him for it.
Except here's
my thing.
I don't know about that. I feel like he's more like a watered down Edgeworth with the design that is obviously ripped off of a Frozen.
I think that Nayuta is the imperfect fusion of every prosecutor prior to him. He's got the smugness of the Payne brothers, the violence of Francisca with his weird prayer ass beads, the calm smugness of Gatto, the logical smugness of Edgeworth, the stupid showmanship of Clavier, which he does so much worse because Clavier's showmanship is a million times better. And the edginess of Black Quill, and he does them all worse. Yeah. Every other prosecutor has a gimmick. I was
going to say, I don't see any Black Quill in him.
He barely has.
I don't see much Black Quill. All I see is Edgeworth. Like, that's all I see is just the watered down Edgeworth. And let's compare him to one that actually does give some inspiration from Edgeworth, but it doesn't erase his individuality as a character. Okay.
I have
Kazuma Asogi. I'm going to compare him to Kazuma Asogi, so please, because I'm not even done with my soapbox. Like, Kazuma Asogi, when you first are introduced to him, everything about him doesn't spell Edgeworth. It feels like he's his own character. Everything about his backstory with Ryunosuke is his own individual character. It feels like, okay, that's his own character. You don't even know that there's some inspiration from Edgeworth until you get to the second game. And whether you believe that it was executed better or poorly, you can't deny that there was enough individuality for Kazuma to stand out as a character. I don't get that with Nayuta. There is nothing about Nayuta that stands out to me. Even him being a brother to Apollo, it does not stand out to me. It just feels like another version of his backstory of Edgeworth's backstory with, Phoenix. It's basically just another watered down version of it, because you literally see pictures of those two growing up, and I'm like, yeah, that's basically the same type of relationship, except they don't call it foster brotherhood, they just call it BFF, So it's like,
if I might,
so it's like he doesn't stand out. He doesn't stand out. He just feels like another typical prosecutor, another asshole prosecutor of the week you don't even know anything about until Turnabout Revolution, and by that time, you literally don't care.
It's a bit much too late, if I'm honest, and all this time, God knows I'm singing.
Gotcha.
Copyright music.
I'm done with my soapbox now.
Thanks.
I'm done with my
Turnabout. I liked the plot of it. I loved.
Are we just moving on? Because I had other things to say about Nayuta.
Okay,
no, that's fine.
Because we have other things to say about him.
No, sorry.
Turnabout, dude.
Sorry, I have an argument against the Cosma thing. The reason why it feels different is because we actually see his transition from the DA to prosecutor, as opposed to Edgeworth, where it's all off screen and we see him immediately as a prosecutor. But I agree with you on literally everything else about Nayuta. He's boring, he's uninteresting until the very end, and by then it's just too much, too late. Like, his whole peace shtick gets real boring real fast. He's just the only. I'm so disappointed though, because I love his design. Physically speaking, he's the most physically interesting thing to look at, and I'm so disappointed in the rest of him because he's so cool looking, but he's wasted. Yeah. Sorry, I'm done.
Do I have time to say why I dislike him?
I say,
yeah, go ahead. We're all taking the piss out of Nayuta.
Okay. I happen to be someone who belongs to a faith, so I'm familiar with that kind of. I've learned a lot about different. My faith and also faiths. If there's one thing I can't stand in real life or fiction, it's somebody who uses their faith to justify absolutely everything they do.
Thank you. I was so scared to say that. Because as an atheist, I was worried I was going to offend someone. I'm so glad that you said that.
And it's but he says if he threatens Apollo and threatens everybody, say you'll be reincarnated. Can you just reincarnate something awful, or I'll cast your soul into hell because I have that authority. Apparently, I'm like and he's just saying all these scary stuff, and I'm just thinking. Great. We're not Corinists! We don't care!
Yeah, we don't give a damn!
To mention, it's not even the same type of faith that both of us believe in, James, because, we both are Christian. Nayuta's faith is based off of Hinduism. Not even close to being the same.
And even then, even if you do believe it, even if you do believe what he does, that's not fair, because he's literally threatening you to become a better person. That is not how you make someone better.
Yeah, and certainly not how you win them over to your religion. If anything, it's going to make them hate your religion that much more. So, what's wrong with you, man?
And the way he treated Emma Skye, which we haven't even gotten to.
Oh, don't even.
But the way he treated Emma Skye was, so awful.
We'll get. Do we want to talk about that case? Because well, you know what? I'm just going to say it right now so that when we get to it later, I don't have to reestablish this. I hate Emma Skye. I hate every iteration of her except one. So that's the only thing I kind of disagree with. Only because I don't remember exactly how he treated her. But I don't like Emma. So any maltreatment she gets, I will give a pass to because I hate her that much. Anyways, let's actually talk about that case.
Can I say what I like about it?
One more thing I want to say about the magical turn about Nayuta.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, I can't see his character going right. But how they executed it was so terrible. I can't see Nayuta being a good character. The problem is that they executed it.
I never see any character as inherently always going to be horrible. It's execution always.
Yeah.
And Nayuta was poor execution.
Yes, it was terribly executed. Like, in fact, I already have a way of how his introduction could have been improved on, believe it or not. Like, instead of introducing the Utah at, when we meet him during the trial and having Emma just say, oh, well, he is a kind-hearted soul and all that bullcrap that I don't even remember. How about we introduce Nayuta from the first time? Like, that's his foster brother, right? Then take advantage of that. Like, say, okay, maybe Nayuta is going to California, and it decides, hey, I'm going to meet with Apollo, I'm going to say hi to him, and at that point, we see that maybe during his introduction, maybe he seems like a very kind person. You don't have to tell us that he's a kind person. He comes off as that. And then when we get to the trial, we actually get to see that he's actually a complete jerk off. Dick. Like, that would be a good way of doing it, because you see that there is more dimension to him. Like, he isn't just a dick, and that's all he is. There's actually more to him than that,
Yeah.
Right. A little bit more. He's instead of being evil, he just kind of gave up on being good, is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was only good to Apollo because that's his brother, and he didn't believe that he would ever have to bring up his country or would have to go to a trial at any point, He just thought, okay, that's my brother, I'm just going to go say hi to him like any person would,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awful.
And there's no reason for why he couldn't just say hello to Apollo, to a brother he hasn't met in God knows how many years. Like, what's keeping him from doing that?
We do have a lot to say about Nayuta, but I think we should move on to the Rite of Turnabout.
Okay.
We have
Rite of Turnabout. Oh my God.
Yeah, go ahead. Say your
Can I start with? I like, for one thing, the plot is interesting. I like how there's a kind of a overarching story of the DC Act and people thinking it's okay, then realizing, wait a minute, it's unfair, and people are being. So that plays a big part in Rite of Turnabout. The murder that takes place is directly related to that, and I think one of my favorite parts of it was that plot twist. Like, I couldn't figure out why anyone would want to kill Tarrust in me and frame Maya for it. Then I saw then Phoenix did his whole mind deep dive, thinking about the reason. And that's where you find out Tarrust. The words appeared. Tarrust's death was a suicide. Like, what? I was not prepared for that.
Yeah, I will not deny it. I like that. I don't
like what happened.
Biggest positive for that case personally, this, I think, aside from the obvious, aside from her, is, I think, the first time the actual victim has been called into a case. Because
I think so.
Because Dahlia doesn't count. Like, Mia doesn't count because she's not a witness. Dahlia doesn't count because she was not a killer. She wasn't killed. She's just a witness. This is the first time I think the actual victim was called in. And they actually made it too. and they actually made it really good because what am I trying to say? They made it really good because he wanted to defend the actual killer. So despite knowing what happened, he still lied to the court. They made it work. I will not deny they managed to make that work.
I just gotta say,
and this is something.
Sorry,
this
real quick.
Is something I think.
Let him do it.
Okay. I'll let
just real quick. I thought it was creative. They let him be a witness. Seeing him in Maya's clothes is an image I will never get out of my head.
Yep.
That's like words cannot describe how messed up that is. Not to mention all his poses. Like, what are you? What were they thinking with that?
I will never get over that, but it was awesome.
I'm done. So go ahead, Chief.
Okay, but what I especially liked, I believe that this was kind of a missed opportunity for Turnabout goodbyes. Like, imagine if Phoenix had had asked Maya to channel Gregory Edgeworth, and Gregory Edgeworth had to hide everything because he thought at the time that his son accidentally killed him. Like,
well, sure, but the only reason I don't agree is because obviously if Maya could call someone, she'd just call Mia, not Greg. So that's my only complaint with that. But I do agree, like, that would have been interesting. You know what else?
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I mean, it doesn't, like, make it good or not good, but I'm just like, now that I think about it, that actually would be interesting. But, like, I do like the concept of, hey, how about we have Maya channel the victim and have him testify. And we see that even, the victim can lie in order to protect the killer. And once we get the whole story, we find out that, not everything was as black and white as it seemed. And that's what actually stirred up the revolution. And I say that another thing I really liked? I mean, I know that the localization, Phoenix is called Phoenix, but in the original, he was called Ryuichi no Ruhado, and Ryuichi means dragon.
Yeah.
And what does the rebellion call themselves? Dragon.
Yeah. We know.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I loved that symbolism.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I love that confusion symbolism. Like, imagine if they would have kept that in there. It would have brought the thought of everybody hating Phoenix to a whole new level.
Well, not necessarily, because if we were to accurately translate it from dragon into an English, his name would probably be similar to Dragos. So it wouldn't actually be an exact translation. Unless you were to actually call him dragon, and that's a whole different thing.
I actually did look it up. And in the original, the dragons were actually called his name.
No, I know that. I get that. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying that doesn't work in the English version because you can't directly call a kid dragon without them getting horrifically picked on.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get it, but I just was just like, it was just me imagining, like, what if sort of thing,
Yeah,
it doesn't make the game good or bad, but I thought that was pretty neat what they did in the original.
You know what else I like about this case, though?
I think that they should have called the dragons Phoenix, and then it would have worked, but that's just me.
You know what else? Well, no, because then it wouldn't have fit with the whole Japanese style of Koreanese. That's the whole idea. I think it was actually based more on China, but point is, back to the case, I actually really love the fact that the victim, it was actually going to kill people.
Oh yeah,
mm-hmm.
That's one thing I do like. Like, he died to protect people, and therefore had to die in order for good people to stop being killed. So
he was the Lady Kira going around hunting down rebels.
Yeah, and it's actually true that I actually have my own headcanon, but we'll get to that when we get to Turnabout Revolution, because that's a whole thing.
Oh, that's a thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other things I like about that case. There's not a whole lot.
Nope.
I do kind of like.
No, there's not a lot.
Kind of like that one. There's one line Rafe had when she found out there's a problem with a scientific finding in that Phoenix mentioned. She said, "You blinded me with science." It's a reference to a song, apparently. I didn't realize that.
I also liked how, like, and this is just one little part, it's just mostly dialogue, but I like that when Emma, Emma's always been the kind of detective that, plays on both sides, but I liked that Phoenix told her, hey, do what Nayuta says, don't follow me, I don't want you to get in trouble. I like that it really shows Phoenix's kind-heartedness and everything, but that's just like one little thing, it's just probably the last one I'll ever say, because there's not a lot of good things I have for writing to Turnabout, but I did like that line, I did appreciate it.
My problem with that is Emma's a grown fucking woman at that point. If she gets in trouble, let her get in trouble. She's a grown-up woman. She knows what to do to stay out of fucking trouble. But
and
that's...
she got snackoos to tide her over.
She is in a new country, to be fair. She is in a new country.
I don't care. If she's traveling around with Phoenix, she's gonna get in trouble, and she knows that. Oh my god, I hate her so much. Sorry, I just don't... I hate her, and, like, there's no way to defend her stupid-ass behavior, and I just... Sorry, I didn't mean to... I did not mean to yell at you. I just genuinely hate her that much.
Okay.
Well, we just go to the roasting part, because I don't have any
what I was gonna say,
good things to say.
Neither do I. My biggest... I'm gonna go with biggest problem. Same problem with Magical Turnabout. Maya shouldn't have been the killer. Maya shouldn't have been accused.
That's my biggest problem, too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big problem, too. It's passe at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we know she didn't do it.
It's the same problem I had with Emma, but names, please, Trucy, Jesus. It's the same problem I had with Trucy, where we knew she didn't do it, but it's even worse because the only reason they accused her is because of the meme at this point. Like,
it's a meme?
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah, it's been a meme. You know that's the only reason that they accused her, and it sucks. Okay, the meme is not even that funny. I don't get why people memed that. Like, Phoenix gets accused of murder just as often. Like, shut up.
Yeah, I remember it was a random encounters video
where
they just get Phoenix said, if you keep getting arrested, they're gonna name a wing after you.
Yeah, that one I remember.
Courthouse. I'm done.
Yeah, like that's a funny joke though, and that's like that whole series is a meme because Larry was the victim. But this whole thing, it's like they're trying to take it seriously of like, oh, she might get thrown in prison and this time Phoenix will go with her. It's like, yeah, no, shut up.
Shut up. Who I think should have been the defendant in this case? Because I don't think it should have been Maya. You know who I think it should have been?
Whom?
Yeah.
You know who I think should have been the perfect defendant for this case? Either Rafa, which would be a lot of changes, but for the least amount of changes, it should have been the wife.
Talib?
Okay, so how do I... Rafa, I 100% disagree with, if only because Rafa has a very important role, and by making her the accused, you completely negate that role. In this case,
true. Then just the wife.
With the wife, I actually kind of agree, because this could have been the inverse of... What's that one called? What's that one called?
Farewell, My Turnabout?
That one, thank you.
Yeah.
It would have been the inverse, where she's guilty, and you have to find her guilty because she's guilty, but she did a bad thing for a good reason. Like, it's the opposite thing.
And technically,
that would be the only reason why I think it would work the best, is because you're actually inverting, the idea that, you're defending someone innocent, and you have to prove that they're innocent. In this case, you're inverting it, and it would make, oh my goodness,
it would have been great
thing that they did at the end of the first part of the trial, which was guilty. Oh my goodness,
that would have been cool.
I totally ripped that off. It would have been great, and that would have been more justified.
I
say that what they did, that piss off thing they did by saying that Maya was guilty at the end, it worked in Turnabout Goodbyes because it wasn't official. Like, Larry had to go and save, Edgeworth's ass.
Yeah,
so it wasn't really official. But this one, it was official, and they somehow, overdid it. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do that.
Well, okay, so if we're talking about English, which we shouldn't be, if we're talking about actual law, you technically can overturn a sentence and get a retrial, but it takes a lot, and everyone has to agree, and it's a long and arduous process. The judge cannot immediately be overturned. So I agree.
And this one, they're just like, okay, we'll just overturn it, and just okay, that's it.
And just reverse the guilty thing. Just go suck all the letters back.
That would be hilarious.
I made a utterly pointless post where that happened.
That would be so funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would have been funny. But yeah, I didn't like that they had, that they declared Maya guilty, and then when it turned out that she was innocent, they're just like, okay, we're just gonna, overturn that guilty verdict without actually making it a challenge or making it like where you do have to work in order to do it, And I think it would have worked had they worked and earned that overturn. Then I would have been like, okay, it's earned, but it's like, okay, well, it turns out that she wasn't the murderer, so all right, we'll just overturn it and we'll just pretend it never happened.
Stupid.
Yeah. I guess they kind of owed it to her at that point, but yeah. Are we done with that case?
Maya should not have been. And can I say that that while this is supposed to be that the witness, what was his name? Dax?
That's all right, or
that's
whatever.
A rebel. That's a rebel.
That's horrible.
The guy that was like
the guy who carves an entire apple with one frickin' thing. Yeah.
Yes.
That guy. I love the CinemaSins trope of let's have your character eat an apple to let everyone know he's an asshole. That accurately describes him.
Yeah.
Oh, Dats. I do miss...
Yeah.
Dats is the drunk uncle that just has Molotovs in his backseat, and I love him.
Yes.
Right.
And I keep forgetting that he's around, but I think that's the only thing I don't like about him is that, like, I just keep forgetting that he's there. Like, oh, yeah.
That
guy was there.
That's the problem.
Because I only remember him mostly from... Because I only remember him from Turnabout Revolution. Like, I remember him the most from there. Because he's basically...
I love him.
He's basically Dirk's Larry. In a sense, but...
That's it. That's it.
That's just
That's
it.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's the problem with a lot of the things in this game, is a lot of them feel recycled from previous games and tried to make it different, but it's too obvious. But,
they all feel like that they're just... Now, I will say that the enemies actually do feel a little bit more original, because I can't think of anyone to compare them to.
Yeah. Also, James, I would say we would move on, but I have to talk about her before we move on. I'm sorry.
Who?
Oh, Emma? Go and talk about Emma.
Oh, boy. I'm going to say, I like that she showed up again. That's it.
I am going to admit that a part of this is of my bias, that I hate her, but I think that Emma is the perfect example of what I think is the biggest problem in Spirit of Justice. Emma, Trucy, Maya, Pearl, everyone who didn't have to be there and were there for fan service. I hated that. Look, I love me some characters that are recurring. When they come back, I'm like, yo, good to see you again.
Yeah, me too. That's what I liked.
But in this game, it felt so gratuitous because every case was boring or overly difficult, and the characters were supposed to be there to distract you from that, it almost felt like. Like, whenever there's like, wow, it's Trucy, and she's been accused of murder. Wow, it's Maya, she's been accused of murder a third time. Wow, it's Emma, she's gonna help you like she did in previous games. Wow, it's like, I don't care. Like,
yeah.
I feel like they were made to spice up the game because they knew they were boring. But
one new thing about Emma, she actually became the forensic investigator, so it was kind of neat to see her not in an always crappy mood, having to.
Well, that's the thing.
Deal with Clavier.
Is like that came in, and that was also purely fan service. That she came in and she was like, "Oh, I'm actually a forensics officer, and I'm so excited." It's like, cool. I don't care. You're a grown ass woman.
Spread fingerprint dust anywhere I want to now.
I think it would have been better if Gumshoe was there instead, because people were so disappointed that Gumshoe wasn't there.
I disagree. I am sorry to say this. I love Gummy, but I disagree entirely. It would have been the exact same problem. Yeah. Unless he was there for every single case, he should not have been there, period.
Yeah.
Was Emma? Emma wasn't there for every single case, right? Or am I crazy?
Nope.
Oh, no, she was there for every single case.
Was she?
Except for the first.
But that's the same for all the detectives.
Tutorial, but it was a tutorial, and there's usually no detective there in the tutorial, but the rest of the cases she was there. She was in for the magical turnabout. She was there for the Rise to Turnabout. She was there for...
Well, then maybe Gumshoe would have worked, but...
storyteller thing, I think, and then she was there for
then maybe Gumshoe would have worked. Maybe Gumshoe would have worked, but my biggest...
Yeah, that's what I was saying!
But no, but the thing is it...
up too, but it's endearing.
Like, that's the thing, is no matter which detective you put in, it's pure fan service. Like...
True.
Yeah.
And speaking of... sorry. Speaking of turnabout storyteller, I hesitate to ask this, but I think can we move on to that as soon as you're finished?
Oh yeah, sure. Is that the next? Is that the one with the mommy clown?
Yeah. I'm listening to this. Okay, I just need a moment to say what I like about that case. Everything I like about that case.
Yeah.
Athena Sykes is the main character. That's it.
Yep. Yeah,
everything else is ridiculous.
That's about what I expected. That case, I think we're all in unanimous decision that excluding the length of the final case, this case is the worst.
Uh-huh.
Are we done with Ride the Turnabout yet? Because I still have some stuff to say about it.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, we just wanted to talk about Athena for a second because she's there for all of 1 second in the game.
We'll get to Athena because I have a lot to say about her. But
poor thing.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just thinking about our time is all.
Yeah. But Ride the Turnabout, it had a lot of great things. But it was drowned out by a lot of the useless and pointless things. And I think that this could have been a case that would have stand out on its own, but it just doesn't. And it doesn't help that with the whole divination seance thing being as frustrating as fuck, and us not having any time to actually get used to the idea of using it in the last one, it's like, you completely forget how to do it. It's like, oh great, now we have to learn this fucking shit again because we completely forgot from the tutorial because that's basically how hard it was. We just want to forget it ever happened.
I don't know. That doesn't happen for everything. That's the problem. It only happens for that. Like every other game, the new material comes up in every case. This is the first time that it shows up in the tutorial and then it's gone and then it suddenly comes back.
and then it's gone again and then it comes back.
It's bad. It's not a good idea.
It's just
they don't have a idea to do it because people are going to forget.
Yeah, because they don't have a pool like that in Japanifornia, so they can't do it.
Yeah, and again, this is why I think that this would have worked better. First off, just stay in Quran. Don't go to that one. The Magical Turnabout was good, but you could have that as its own DLC case, really. You could just make it a DLC case and call it a day. Because, especially since the other asinine ones sucked anyways. And the other thing, and just focus on Karai. And not only that, but how about instead of having it be Phoenix and Maya, how about have it be Phoenix and Apollo? Why couldn't Apollo have joined? This is supposed to be about him, and he doesn't even come out until the end.
True.
Yeah, poor thing. Oh,
yeah, Apollo should have been there. He should have been in Karai, and he's not. It wasn't. You just bring Phoenix in because you don't know what the fuck to do with him, and you don't even bother bringing Apollo, even though he's supposedly supposed to set up his law firm there. You don't bring him into Quran. You don't bring him in until the final one, which makes no sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if you are going to bring Maya, okay, I guess she could be there to help out, but at least make it where it's Apollo and Athena and Maya, because I think that collaboration would have been very interesting, in my opinion.
Of course, that's kind of a personal thing for you.
And I will get to that and I will get more into that with Turnabout Revolution. But to me, it should have just been Phoenix and Apollo. No Maya, just Phoenix and Apollo.
Yeah. I think people were kind of waiting to see Maya again, but there's.
I mean, she could
that makes
just
sense
be
too.
there at the DLC case. Okay, she's gonna be
Maybe.
there in the DLC case anyway, so
Yeah. What, are we done with that case?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not
I
just
think so.
being patient or anything. Oh boy,
Yeah.
I should not have said that.
Oh,
I should not have said that.
Oh, storytelling.
Oh boy.
I have.
Okay, let's butter this thing up, even though there's not much to talk about.
I don't think there's
really.
there's exactly one positive, I think, and it's almost the exact same as James, except instead of Athena, it's Black Quill is there. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
he's your co-counsel.
I love Black Quill. Black Quill was wasted in his 2 appearances. I love the edgy bastard, but he is not. The 5th game is kind of bad because just like it was the first like introduction and so of a character, so naturally it was going to be a little sloppy. And then he doesn't show up again until like the middle of the 6th game, and I'm so sad because I love him so much, and he's utterly wasted in this case too. That's the other problem. Like he's only half of a positive for me. This case almost has nothing good in it.
I didn't say my good ones. I think I would say that both I do like that Athena gets to, do her own trial, and I like that, Black Quill does it, but I also like the concept of, how the case goes about, which is that, like, the concept of, Athena has to, defend in her own trial. She doesn't have a co-counsel or anything, which... I mean, she doesn't have a co-counsel or anybody, which, to me is kind of a missed opportunity because he could have had, Trucy helping out, but that's just me.
No, she's got Black Quill.
But other than that, I do like the idea that Athena gets to, take over her own trial. I do like that Black Quill does get to help out, and he has so many snarky comments when you cross-examine him. Especially when you get it wrong, he is still snarky as fuck.
Dude,
he calls Nayuta a name, that's another plus.
The other thing I love about this case, and this is just personal, I love it when I go on to any site and I find a fuck ton of people shipping Black Quill and Nayuta. I've seen that.
Oh my goodness.
I have seen that everywhere. And it's hilarious to me. Only because I just don't see it.
Yeah, well, okay.
Me neither. I don't. I don't get it. It's basically the same. It's basically the same logic as shipping Phoenix with Godot, except at least I don't know. At least that one.
They have a little bit of chemistry. They both knew Maya.
Yeah, they have a little bit of it, but I see nothing with Nayuta. I saw more chemistry. Honestly, I see more chemistry with Nayuta and Athena, and that's saying something.
Ew.
Yeah. Okay. This is why I don't get into ships, because people will ship Phoenix with Charlie the plant, so I don't even bother.
I only have ships that make sense. I don't do ships that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Crystalia.
I don't even think that Athena and Nayuta make sense either, but I was just saying that makes more sense.
More sense, okay.
Crystalia.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was saying that it makes more sense.
Out of every ship I've ever had, the only ship I've ever had that, people could question me on is Crystalia. And that's it. Out of every other ship I have, they have
that one makes sense.
I don't question it that much, really.
Well, no, the reason why is because they come from different games and different years, and technically within the universe, they never meet. So there is technically no on-screen chemistry, and most of my ships need that.
Yeah, but even that one makes more sense.
Oh, absolutely.
It cannot make sense of Nayuta and Black Quill. There's only a few good things I can say about. I like the concept of how the murder happened and everything, and that clown girl was the one who did it and everything. But it's that's pretty much the only thing I like about it. That's it.
Yeah. Jess, I kind of liked her reveal. She's all happy and bubbly, and then then everything comes off, and she's just an ordinary person with feelings.
And I do love her personality.
The mommy queen. It's just the mommy clown. She was weird to me from the second she showed up on screen. But if we're going to talk about the witnesses, I have a problem with all of them. I didn't used to have a problem. I didn't used to have a problem with, I forgot his name, the dude with the ponytail. Yeah. Wendo Tonito. Like, I didn't...
He's charming in his own way.
Well, no, I didn't used to have a problem with him because the idea of split personality has forever fascinated me. It has always been fascinating to me. The problem with him is, as it has been explained to me, that is not how it actually works.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
And it's, when it comes to actually being sensitive to those issues, I can't bring myself to like him because this game was made in 2016 when I'm sure at least some of the information was readily available. Like, they could have made him correct. Then we have Bucky, and he's just he's drunk all the time, which is like, even if he's not not actually drunk, it's the stupidest thing. Like, really? If you're gonna have a drunk, bring back Hobo Phoenix. Jeez.
Yeah, like, okay, can I say that Bucky is the most boring ass defendant I have ever seen?
Yeah, I don't like him.
He is boring as fuck. At least when Phoenix was Hobo Phoenix, I mean, he at least made it interesting.
Well, yeah, he was always interesting. Bucky is boring, and I don't like him. He brings Bucky from the MCU to shame, because that Bucky is cool. And very fuckable, but that's neither here nor there.
I would not even compare
spaced out for a minute. What'd you say?
Sorry, I'm talking about a different Bucky. This Bucky is not as fuckable as Bucky Barnes.
I'm kidding. I didn't actually want to hear
I would not compare this one, Bucky Wet to Winter Soldier. I would not compare the two.
We're not comparing Bucky Barnes to Bucky Wet. Fuck Bucky Wet. But then we have the mommy clown, and I hate her. I don't hate her because of the meme. The meme is hilarious. I hate her because, as a person with big titty and a person who has a fear of balloons, I already know that everything about her is wrong. But, like, her anatomy, right away, the jiggle physics, I was like, okay, either they are going super fan service or those aren't real.
And I think it was both, actually.
It was both.
It was a bit of both, honestly. I didn't really care that much about her.
Me neither.
I did like some of the characters that really I think, like the one with the multi-personality, that one confused, and I wasn't interested in anyone, like, really. I mean, I was interested in the concept and the case, but the characters themselves, I don't even know their names. Like, what is the name of the call? Like, does anybody remember what her name is?
Uendo, Patches, Kisagawa, and Owen.
And Owen, yeah.
I remember them because of the fact that I was so deeply into the character.
Yeah.
I loved him, and now I'm like, I don't know. I don't really like him as much because of the fact that I know that they could have done him better.
Yeah, and maybe it's because I have seen characters with multi-personality disorders that were done in a similar way, but were much more interesting. But I never found him interesting, in my opinion.
Well, my thing with him, I found him interesting because he was the first, like, actual character who had that I had seen. But my biggest thing is Owen is, like, the only one who might even be close to accurate because of a trigger. The idea is that you go into another personality based on a trigger or whatever. Don't quote me on this because I'm there. My understanding is extremely limited. So if I get this wrong, I'm sorry. But Owen is the only one who's actively triggered, and he's triggered by alcohol. So he's the only one I would actually believe is real.
Yeah. Yeah, you think you also had the headcanon that he's actually Window at a younger age.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me. He had a unpleasant childhood, so he's kind of meek.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. But,
But yeah,
that's a bit more to
the
him.
characters are just bad.
Yeah.
And
Can I
I
say?
forgot about something. And this is another criticism towards Nayuta. But I didn't like how how in this case they tried to make Nayuta be as big of a dickhead as possible after Ride of the Turnabout, because supposedly he told Phoenix at the end that I guess he owed him or something, and then he comes in Turnabout Storyteller and he says that I owe somebody something, and he never gets into what either here or there has anything to do with the tea in China. It like
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, why is
Nayuta's
he
bad.
acting like a dickhead towards Athena? He doesn't have anything with her. He doesn't know her. All he knows about her is that she was Apollo's co-counsel at that one particular case, and that's it. He doesn't know anything about her, and that's not even counting the confusing, like, Red of the Turnabout happened like literally the day before this one, apparently. Like, look at the dates. It literally happened a day before.
Yeah,
Yep.
Nayuta does a lot of traveling.
Yep, Nayuta does a ton of traveling. It's very funny. Someone made a comic about it.
That's what I was thinking of.
I'll send it to you guys after. I'll send it to Young Bounty Girl.
Edward says he sends him away on purpose because he keeps taking his parking spot.
He keeps taking his parking spot.
Oh, yeah.
Were you finished?
I wasn't even finished with my rant towards Nayuta. Like, it doesn't make any sense why Nayuta is being such a dickhead. And again, this is why he feels like another dickhead prosecutor of the week. Like, at least with the other prosecutors, we get some sort of motivation or reason for why they're being a dickhead to the defense attorneys. Like, even with Blackwell, he had a reason for why he was a dickhead to all three of the defense attorneys, and at the very least, he treated each of them differently. Like, with Phoenix, he was a dickhead to him, but he did treat him kind of like a senior, so to speak. With Apollo, he treated him like he didn't trust him at all because that was a stranger, and he was, hanging around with Athena, so he had every reason to not trust him. And with Athena, he kind of treated her like she's just a kid, she doesn't know what she's doing, yada, yada, yada. But you understood why he was a dickhead to all three of them. You understood, like, even Francisca, you understood why she was being a complete bitch to everybody.
Don't touch that for anything. That is a slippery slope when I'm around.
We'll play that for another modcast, but
okay.
But my point is, there's no reason for Nayuta to be a dick to Athena. And there's even no reason for why he should use her disability against her. And that pisses me off.
I would disagree. I think there's exactly one reason, and it's because if he knows she's associated with Phoenix, he would by association hate her. But
you cut off there. What'd you say?
Did I? Hello?
I heard you.
Yeah, like you were trying to cut off.
Oh, sorry. It's just that if he knew that she worked for Phoenix or with Phoenix, then by association he would hate her and be a dick. And I know this from personal experience because I have done that and people have done that to me.
Yeah, but that's the thing. At the end of Ride of the Turnabout, it never seemed like he hated Phoenix. If anything, it seemed like, hey, you did something good. You actually helped somebody I cared about, an uncle figure of mine, and now I want to do something good for you. And it kind of seems the opposite. Neither make any sense.
Can I, real quick, say what really bugs me the most about that case?
Yeah.
I'll try to keep it quick. For one, a couple things. First, seems like they mostly just use as an excuse to inject a bunch of Japanese culture and Rakugo theater, which I liked, but they're just filling it up with that and not the actual important stuff like who murdered who. But Athena, I like that she got her own case, but then she needed help. She was doing her best, but people weren't listening to her, and then Simon came in, and I'm glad he did, but I thought the point was she can handle this on her own now. She had a whole game before where she got over serious fears, serious weaknesses, and learned how to handle herself better. and eventually do things on her own. Now she's still not doing it, not able to do it.
Yeah,
Like,
and it
what was
didn't
the
seem
point?
like that she was having. It didn't seem like she was having any panic attacks, really. Like,
Well, yeah, that's good. That's true, and that's good.
She just got a little overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed too. Like, I get overwhelmed at work, and I don't have anybody saving my ass.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Jeez.
That's just annoys me that she's still not able to command.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
she was really wasted.
That whole
Everyone
case
was
was a waste of time.
I think so too.
Yeah, it was a waste of time. It should have just been an asinine case, and we'll just call it a day.
Yeah, can we all collectively agree that case is the worst case?
Yep.
Because
maybe in the series, except for Turnabout Big Top.
No, I agree. This one is worse than Big Top.
Or Turnabout Serenade.
Which one is Serenade?
Sorry, I'm branching off into other things, but
which one's Serenade? I don't remember Serenade.
One with Lemurar and the.
Oh, I love Turnabout Serenade.
Okay,
yeah,
well, you just have to listen to music over and over. It gets annoying.
Okay, I'll agree that bit where you have to listen to the tape over and over, that sucked. But everything else about that case, it was awesome. But no, this case, I think, is the worst case in the entire series.
I can agree. That's probably true.
That's even including Lost Turnabout, because that one was at least funny.
Yeah, that one was it was bad, but it was at least it was amusing. But this one is not even that. It is just pure. Meh. It is pure fan service for the people who liked Bad Athena, who liked Asshole Simon, who likes the fucking mommy kink, like all of that. It's a bad case.
Yeah. That's all I have to say.
It's like, it's just meh. It should have been an asinine case.
It's not even
asinine cases that were done so much better.
It's not even a meh case. Like, I look at it and I'm like, I wish this didn't exist. It's literally the only case. It's literally the only case where if they tried to retcon it, I would let them retcon it.
Yeah.
Out of existence. Bad.
So are we prepared to butter up and dunk on the final one?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, the final one.
I'm ready for, and this one's a long ass case.
I literally
Revolution.
I'm gonna say it right now. I have nothing good to say about Revolution. I have literally.
I do have some things, but
every positive I can think of is immediately turned sour when I think about their negatives. I have nothing positive to say.
Yeah.
It's like I do think the previous case is worse, but it's the only one I have nothing positive to say about.
Yeah. I don't have a lot positive to say. I just want to mention I did love Rafa's I guess realization moment. She first of all she got anxious, but then she got over it and realized, okay, I can do this, and she did, and because of that a lot of good stuff happened. And then she was still a brat at the end, but she became a little more a little more sympathetic and less hateful of Phoenix and lawyers.
Yeah.
Lots.
And
and Dirk was pretty cool too. Not much else.
Yeah, and I also there were maybe two things I liked about it. The first one, I'm gonna go for Dirk's death and the twist of what happened to him. I think that was done pretty. I think that was done pretty well, and it was a pretty good shocking moment because no one would have saw that coming. Like, that was good of them to do that. I mean, there are other bad things to it too, but that one. But how they did it for that moment before ruining it, that was good. Another thing I also liked was, and this is before they made it basically like Farewell My Turnabout, before they made it into another Farewell My Turnabout, the civil case was a breath of fresh air. It was good. I like the idea of a civil trial. Yeah.
Oh, I disagree.
And it was, and it was like, wait, they're against each other all of a sudden? Where did that come from? That part was interesting. Then we figured out why. I thought they actually had a serious disagreement about something, but nope. Maya's been kidnapped again. Phoenix's hands are tied.
Yep.
Same old.
Like, that really ruined it.
And he's been through that before. You think he would have been a little more with it.
I hated that case so much. Like, let me know when your negatives are done, because this is where my soapbox comes out. This is the other case.
So yeah, like there is a lot of negatives to that. But
here's the thing. I'll say this right now. The other case is the worst case in the series, but this is the one I hate the most in the game.
Wait, we didn't hear you there.
Am I still alive? Am I good?
Yeah.
Like, I will agree, the previous case, Turnabout Storyteller, is the worst case in the series, but I hate this case so much more.
Well, it's a lot harder for one thing.
Not even that, just story-wise. In terms of story, I hate this one infinitely more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that was... and go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say that before, it turned out that Maya was kidnapped and everything, like, the idea of, what they did with the civil trial, I actually have a headcanon about this, believe it or not, about Amy Faye because of this.
Oh, yeah.
Which is that Amy Faye, I think you know about this, James, but it's a headcanon that Amy Faye was Holy Mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's my headcanon.
I agree.
Which means that Phoenix was telling the truth when he said that the crystal of Amy Faye, that when he said that the orb thing was actually the crystal of Amy Faye, both were the same thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Because they said that Ami made the... Oh, someone followed us. Hello, Astonishing Onion. Thank you for following. Sorry for breaking the tension. My thing is, I agree, because they do say that Ami, invented the spirit channeling technique, so I could totally believe she's Holy Mother.
Isn't that what the Holy Mother did?
Headcanon accepted.
I actually wrote some letters in Ask Ace Attorney, which James had answered, where Amy Faye asks Ryunosuke to defend her in a trial.
Oh, that'd be so cool, though.
It would, yeah. It'd be.
I would play the hell out of that case. That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, and spirit channeling is a new thing for Inosuke, so he's having to decide: is she being serious about this?
I think that would have been
possible?
Actually, apparently.
I think it would have been perfect if she hadn't channeled anyone during that case. Like, that'd be perfect. It would make it perfect. Keep her out of keep spirit channeling out of Ryunosuke.
And another thing is that I also sent that not only was there one letter sent, from Amy Faye to Ryunosuke to ask to defend her, but there's also another letter to Kazuma asking him to prosecute that case.
Yeah.
Here, okay, so let me.
But,
sorry. I don't want to trump over the positives. If you have any more positives to say, let me know.
Yeah. Like, as I said, I like the idea of I liked what they did with the civil trial. It did turn into a murder case. Kind of feels like another stolen turnabout, but it also kind of didn't, because at the beginning, Phoenix makes it clear that this was a murder, and they made it clear that this is not going to be a murder trial. The murder trial will happen afterwards. This is going to be a civil trial between Phoenix and, Apollo. And I liked that they stuck with this even from beginning to end. Even when it turned out that, that there was a murder in this, they still kept it to being a civil trial from beginning to end. The only thing I wish is that this was its own game. It should have been separate from the other part, which, kind of clusters in and drowns out all of the civil trial and everything. But this should have been its own trial, because that's what they did with Dual Destinies. Apparently, the Cosmic Turnabout and Turnabout for Tomorrow were originally supposed to be one case. But because they were so big, they separated them. They should have done this in Turnabout Revolution. They should have separated civil trial from this other trial. If the civil trial was just there alone, it was its own case, and, just take out the Maya was kidnapped and all of that bullshit. Just get rid of that. By itself, it would have been okay.
Yeah. I got one. I think I'm done with positive stuff. I got one more thing I dislike to share. The heightened tension at the very end, or close to the very end. that they have the right, Phoenix and Apollo have the right evidence, but Garon has an army with a bunch of guns, so they're pretty much stuck. Like, okay, now what do we do? So I thought that was pretty cool, and how they got out of that was pretty cool. The problem is that the evil queen they're facing came straight out of a Marvel comic. I cannot take her seriously. Outside of the power she wields, she's just ridiculous. And then she looks even more ridiculous.
So much yeah, and I'll get to that. And can we just roast this thing? Because I want to say something about that.
Yep.
Okay, I'm time for me to roast this.
Oh, are we done? Can I get on my soapbox?
We're done with the buttering. I'm going to start with roasting this by saying that what they did at the end by having the Queen, threaten Apollo and Phoenix and everything, this was done so much better in the Professor Layton crossover.
Okay. Am I able to get on my soapbox? Because, oh my god, I hate this case.
Yes, you can go on your soapbox. I just wanted to say it was so much better.
Okay, first things first. Civil case. Absolutely garbage. Paul Addison is an absolutely terrible character. I don't think he had anything to add to the game. He was egotistical, which they've done better. He was smarmy, which they've done better. Honestly, his defeat was stupid, and it served no purpose. I thought the fact that Maya was kidnapped and Phoenix was like, well, I guess my hands are tied, I guess I'm doing this, was stupid, because he's done better with worse. He's actually managed to save her life after being kidnapped by an assassin, actually managed to get the right verdict, didn't end up being the bad person, and this time he just gave up, which was extremely out of character, extremely backwards, and I hated it every second of it.
Yeah, and Dual Destinies even had Tracy being kidnapped, and he didn't fall into that. It seemed like he went better.
That's because he knew that. That's because he kind of figured that Black Quill wasn't guilty, and she was kidnapped to prove that. So obviously, the other problem I have with the civil case is it's all related to the stuff in Corraine, which doesn't make sense. Why would Paul Addison be a part of that? Then we get into the whole thing with the civil case. First of all, then we get into Corraine, and don't even get me started. First of all, Edgeworth is there. He literally serves no purpose. I don't care. I love Edgeworth as much as the next guy. Shouldn't have been in the fucking game. If he was not going to serve a purpose, don't fucking put him in. He serves no purpose. Same with Trucy.
Good point.
Same with Trucy. Edgeworth and Trucy had no business to being there. So those two suck. Then we have the whole thing with Rafa, and I have so many opinions on Rafa, but I truly think that Rafa was pointless. She should have just been in the witness. The fact that she was there by your side during the investigation felt extremely gratuitous. Then we have the whole thing with the investigation and the king and queen. The queen sucks for many reasons that I'll get to in a minute, but the king is stupid because prosopagnosia. Here's the thing with prosopagnosia. I'm willing to believe that he has that if his notebook is on any of his models. If any of his animations do not have if none of his animations have that notepad, he does not have prosopagnosia, because there's absolutely no way in hell that he could look at Phoenix with his head and his spiky ass hair and be like, that's Phoenix, because that is not how face blindness works. Oh my god, I hate that. I know that. I have looked into face blindness because it fascinates me so much, and that's not how it works. There is no fucking way. I could totally believe the idea that of the defined thing where he couldn't see Dirk's face. Fine, I'll accept that. But I fucking refuse to believe he had prosopagnosia if he could identify Phoenix and Maya and everyone on site. Fuck you. Then we have the whole queen, and we'll get into that in a bit. We have Nyuta, who's terrible. The whole thing with Dirk, the Dirk death was meh. Honestly, I just think that Dirk shouldn't have been in the game, period. But that's another thing. Dirk's death was stupid because he was right there to save Maya and then got shot, and then he managed to survive being shot 3 times. Fuck you. And then we have the whole... Yeah, then he, gets summoned by Maya and puts on his own clothes, comes back to America, talks to fucking Apollo, acts like he's dying when he's actually dead instead of telling the truth, and then comes back and doesn't actually bring it up, because then I think Maya is the one who says he's dead. Then the whole thing with the evil queen and the good queen, again with the evil sister trope, which you've done 1,000 times. I will go on record, I've said this in the chat, but I'll say it live on stream. Garan is a terrible, shitty ripoff of Dahlia Hawthorne. Oh my god. I will take that to my grave. She is terrible. She's the evil sister. She can't channel shit. She manipulates her sister. She takes over the shit. She uses her power to manipulate people. She obviously manipulates Phoenix. She's terrible. I hate her face.
Also the Marvel comic thing too.
And the Marvel comic thing. She's just ugly and bad, and I hate her. Then we have the thing with Nayuta. As you said, it's way too much too late. He becomes only interesting at the very end, but at that point, I don't care. We have the thing with Jove Justice. That was completely fucking pointless. I don't care if you wanted to give Apollo a backstory. Don't give him a Karain backstory. The fact that his dad was in Karain with his baby makes no sense because his mom was a magician in America. Then we have the whole thing with him being raised with Nayuta, which again, why did they not make that more prevalent? Every character was pointless. The whole case felt rushed. Everything was just ugh. And then on top of it all, it goes on for fucking ever. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit how important you think this case is. It goes on twice as long as the best case in the series, Bridge to the Turnabout, and that one did 3 times as much with half the length. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, it was so long, and
the payoff
agree with.
And the payoff was lame. I'm just gonna say it right now. The payoff of Apollo staying in Karain to help with the legal system. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and there were too many bad endings. Like,
way too many bad
endings.
endings.
The most bad endings I have ever seen.
And they're boring.
Again, yeah, it's like one of them was like complete. It was kind of like it was a sort of happy. It was a sort of bad ending that looks happy, which was done better in the Persona series, in my opinion. If you're going to do.
I'm kind of glad.
No,
I'm kind of glad none of them had to be beheaded, so that's good.
Yeah, sure.
Even in the bad endings. I'm
down for that. My biggest thing with it is, if we're going to talk about the bad endings, we have to talk about the only other games that have actual bad endings, not including the Etchers games, because there's a bajillion of them and they all are very, very small. I'm talking about. What is it? It's Dual Destinies has a bad ending, Apollo Justice has a bad ending, and Justice for All has a bad ending. Justice for All's bad ending hit really hard because it's the only time you don't want a not guilty verdict. And the miracle never happened, which was memed, and I'm upset about it.
Me too.
Then we have the one in Apollo Justice where if the player chooses not guilty, chooses guilty, then Vera dies, which is sad, but it's the player's choice. I
get the logic there.
Which is the player's choice. Well, because it's a hung jury, and they can't have a hung jury. Which is not how it actually works, but semantics. Then we have the one in Dual Destinies. I think there's only the one, which is where Trucy gets like
2 of them actually.
Well, yeah, but the only one I remember is the one where Trucy is never seen again.
And there's that one, and then the one where the Phantom gets away.
Oh yeah, but no one cares about that terrorist.
And the Dark Age of the Law never
darker.
ends.
It just kept getting darker and darker.
And and Farewell My Turnabout, like that bad ending. I don't think you went into depth in that one, but Phoenix basically quit his job, and Maya was never found. Well, it really hits you hard.
No, it's that he never saw Maya again, but he assumes that the killer let her go, and he quit his job because he felt he didn't matter. Like, it's a very impactful ending, and there are so many bad endings. And the endings in Spirit of Justice are so numerous and so empty that I don't give a shit. I just want them to be over, you know?
Yeah, that's why I restart if I'm close to getting the game over.
There was even one bad ending I saw where it doesn't exactly
I'll tell you
end on a where it ends on a good, where it's a bad ending but ends on a good note, which I have to say, the reason the Persona series bad endings where it ends on a good note works so well is because in Persona 3, everyone completely forgot about the main character and that the main character even existed and died, and the main character, wiped all of their memories without their consent. That's why it works. in Persona 4, the reason that one works is because you're literally choosing to live in an illusion instead of facing your own reality. In this one, it's like it just happened because I guess Apollo didn't try hard enough. Like, and I forgot to say this when we were doing the good things, but the only good thing I ever saw, the only thing that ever made me happy was the interaction between Apollo and Maya, and that was it.
I hated
and
that.
Even then,
I hated that.
But
and the interaction between isn't that the one where she's smiling while she's crying, and she's like, "You have to keep smiling" or whatever.
Oh no! The interaction between Apollo and Maya, like that's when Apollo is cross-examining Maya, and Maya is kind of like being her usual. And then Apollo questions if maybe Maya is covering up for the killer, and Maya just gets all so pissy and bratty and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I did like that part, but that was only because it made me laugh. That was the only thing I remember that made me laugh. That made me smile a little bit, but the rest was very frustrating. The rest was kind of like too much, it was just too...
That case is the only reason why I hope we don't get another mainline Ace Attorney game. I'd be fine with another... Man. Well, no. I'd be fine with another, like, Ryunosuke game, but that case... Yeah. That case cements the fact that I don't think the Ace Attorney people care anymore, or if the people who do care aren't in the game, aren't in the scene anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
I understand that.
They're only doing spin-offs, really. Like, most of them that actually did the trilogy, they're just doing spin-offs. They were the ones that did the Miles Edgeworth investigations. They were the ones that did the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and stuff. They weren't the ones who did Dual Destinies or Spirit of Justice. And I think that the one that's in charge of those were just there to fix Apollo Justice.
Mm-hmm.
That is the root of why I believe the Spirit of Justice was doomed to fail from the start. Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice were only there as a purpose to fix Apollo Justice because everyone had problems with it.
I think I think Spirit of Justice was made to fix that, where the 5th game was made to replace that. And that's why I think Dual Destinies is marginally better, because it wasn't trying to fix it. It was trying to completely be like, here's Athena, she's better than Apollo. And like, well, I disagree entirely, but
I'm not saying she's better, I'm saying she's good.
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I think Apollo is better than Athena.
Apollo
I'm not as a lawyer, I'd say yes, but as a character, Athena's got the spunk. Is what I like about her.
I'm not saying she's a bad character. I'm just saying that I prefer Apollo as a character. But what were you saying, James?
One thing I just remembered I liked about, or just thought was clever in the Turnabout Revolution. You don't think about how Dirk and Maya have the same hair color and hairstyle. So if he were to be dead and she were to channel him, you wouldn't know the difference. Then he's mentioned I have a condition. And then you wouldn't think it's his condition is that he's dead. Then that popped up. I was like, this whole time he was actually whoa.
Well, okay, but
it's like the inconspicuousness, I guess, is the right word.
Oh, I agree, but I
you'll
think
see it coming.
But I agree that's interesting. But you know where they did that better? With Iris. Yeah. Because Iris looks...
I do agree, they did it better. And that's another thing, is that everything that... Okay, you go.
Well, it was just that it was Maya channeling Dahlia who pretended to be Iris. So there were 2 levels of subterfuge. And that's what makes it so good. Whereas with Dirk, it's just 1 level. And the second he reveals he's dead, it's like, okay... Well, then, why didn't you just tell me that, as opposed to saying why didn't you just say, I'm dead, avenge me, rather than saying, I have a condition, come with me?
Uh-huh. That's not very considerate on his part.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought he was being considerate, but that's just unhelpful.
Again, that kind of thing where I'm lying to you for your own good was done better in the Great Ace Attorney Resolve.
Oh yeah.
And again, everything about which again I was going to say, everything about Spirit of Justice was done so much better in all the other Ace Attorney games. From what I was saying, like, okay, I'm lying to you. I should have came forward with you, but I'm lying to you because for your own good, because I don't want you to be sad. I don't want anything to happen to you. That was done better in the Great Ace Attorney because Herlock Sholmes did have a fatherly and caring reason for lying to Iris about who her father really was. And he had a good and again, he had a caring reason for why he would lie to Ryunosuke about Kazuma being alive or for faking Kazuma's death because he thought that Kazuma was being assassinated. And then by the time he lost Kazuma, he didn't even know if the guy was dead or alive. So and more importantly, Herlock Sholmes came forward about it. He said, I know what I did was wrong, but I did everything I could, what I thought was the best, what I thought was best for everybody. I did not mean to hurt anybody. I was on a road to hell paved with good intentions. You always got that in the Great Ace Attorney Resolve, that everybody's motivation, everyone's reasoning for doing terrible things were paved with good intentions. Now, with some characters, there's probably some argument to that, especially if it's with Kazuma, and that's why I love him so much. But for the most part, everyone's road to hell was paved with good intentions. With Spirit of Justice, I don't really get that from Dirk, and I don't get that from everybody. It's usually like, oh, well, Garan is a complete bad guy, and it's completely comical. And it's like, again, her hatred for her sister was done so much better with Morgan. Because even with Morgan, like, she was doing even her, hatred towards, even her thing with, Maya was done because she loved her daughter so much. It might have been an unhealthy relationship, but you at least understood where she was coming from. I do not understand where Garan's coming from. I do not understand where Niyuta's coming from. I don't understand where Dirk is coming from, and most people will agree with me on this.
I will. I think there's a lot of backstory missing.
I hate to cut this short because this is getting really good, but we have hit the 2-hour mark.
Okay, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Probably this will be it. Well, one thing I remember that I liked about Spirit of Justice as a whole is just seeing. I know it's kind of dumb at times, but seeing old characters meet new characters, and now our questions of how they would interact with each other are being answered. So I thought it was pretty cool how Phoenix's oldest assistant, Maya, and his newest assistant, Athena, just talked briefly about their interaction while the trial was going on. I was trying to hold her back. No, I was trying to hold her back.
Yeah.
We just have to wonder which one's telling the truth. And I made a drawing where it's Athena holding Maya back.
Aww.
And
while
again, Spirit of Justice is a plot and a cluster of characters that were done so much better in other previous Ace Attorney games. Yeah. Whether it would be the Professor Layton crossover, the Great Ace Attorney, or even the Ace Attorney trilogy itself. I'll even throw Miles Edgeworth Investigations into the mix. Yeah. Like, it was done so much better in those games, and it really goes to show what happens when you take a team that has never worked in the other previous trilogies, and all they care about is, oh, let's fix Apollo Justice because we messed up on a lot of things. We never gave Apollo a backstory. We never really explained why Phoenix became a hobo. We never explained what happened to all the other characters.
Rewind. No. They explained why Phoenix became a hobo. They just didn't give him a good enough reason.
Yeah, like that's what I meant. Like, they just didn't give a good enough reason. Or why Phoenix said, or even explain what Phoenix meant when he said that all of my friends left me. Because when he said that in Apollo Justice, the first thing everyone thought was, well, what about Miles Edgeworth? What about Maya? What about Gumshoe? Whatever happened to them? And it's like, Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice the only reason they existed was to explain what happened to all those other characters. And to me,
sort of.
that's not how you go about it. If you want to fix, like, don't try to fix Apollo Justice. Try to add to it, and if you want to fix it, make it brief. Like, do not have it be the ultimate focus. Like, there are only two things, aside from game design and all of that crap, that should be the focus of every story, and that's story and characters. Those should go first before everything else. Like, don't try to fix what's already broken. Like, let's instead try to build a new thing. You know?
Yeah, that's true about a lot of game series, actually.
Yeah.
You know, most people can make up their own headcanons. They can think, okay, maybe Maya didn't, abandon Phoenix. Maybe she went up to do her own thing. Maybe she's in Karine somewhere. We don't know that.
Maybe we can make a better game than they could.
I wouldn't say that.
Perfectly happy. I would have been perfectly happy if their explanation of what happened to Edgeworth, Maya, Gumshoe, and everyone was just done in a simple letter. That's all they had to do, was just say, no, Phoenix is still talking to these people, and just say, okay, he's still talking to them. That means they never left him. They never abandoned him. We don't know how they could have helped him. We don't even know if they could have helped him. We'll just leave it at that. And for the record, what Miles Edgeworth investigation prosecutor's path did explained more of why he couldn't help Phoenix when he got disbarred than everything else that Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice ever did. And their intention was not to fix it.
Yeah. Okay, before we go, I'm going to say one last thing. I promise this is it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The reason I would give Spirit of Justice 8.5 out of 10 at least, I don't think you can accurately judge the game unless you've played the DLC case. I know, Chief, have you played that?
Okay,
yes, I have played it.
Okay.
But the only problem is that just like every other good thing in this case, it has nothing to do with the plot.
Here's the thing.
True.
Okay, so
can I explain real quick? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What I love about it is it's different, but it feels a lot like we're back in the trilogy. Got Phoenix, Maya as the co-counsel, Edgeworth as a prosecutor, good old Larry showing up, and it's just it's unrelated to the plot of the game, but it's a case
they
have to take on together. So reunions, and also another reunion and turnabout, just different kind of reunion, different kind of turnabout.
I get you.
And the plot is beautiful, and the characters are beautiful. So that's why I love it.
Yeah, I get that.
And also a sucker for romance. So there's that too.
My only thing with that is, if the game is boosted by optional DLC that you actually have to pay for, then it's not a good game. If the only reason
That's a good point.
If the only reason you give it an 8 out of 10 is because of DLC that A, people may not have bought, and B, therefore people may not have played, it's not a good game.
I do think it's worth the money.
I agree.
That's a good point.
I wouldn't even give it. I wouldn't even give it an 8.5 out of 10. I would give it more like, and this is just me being generous, okay? Because it probably deserves a much lower score, so this is just me being generous. I would give it maybe a 6 out of 10.
I would literally give it a 0. Before we go, I'm going to make the comparison. So there's a YouTuber I watch named Chugga Conroy, and he has this game that he hates with a passion, and it's called Paper Mario Sticker Star. And he hates it not just because it's a bad game, because it is a bad game. He hates it because it is a really terrible game in a series that he loved, like adored.
That's why everybody hates it.
Exactly.
They ruined the...
Like, it's not even just that it's a bad game, because if it was just a bad game, it would fade into obscurity, but he hates it because it's Paper Mario. That's why... I think that is why it's like Spirit of Justice is my least favorite game of all time.
Yeah, good series.
It is a great
bad
series.
Entry in the series.
It is the worst. I hate it so much. But we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah. Maybe it's because my hatred isn't as great, but I kind of felt the same way when I used to be into Yu-Gi-Oh. There was a season called Capsule Monsters, and I actually hated Castle Monsters for the same reason you hated Spirit of Justice, believe it or not. Because
it
I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! So much.
Yeah,
and
it was good
they
up
had
until
to
that
place
point.
Castle Monsters in there. And Castle Monsters was the absolute worst out of it.
Sounds like a rip-off of Pokemon.
So I do understand. I just don't have the same type of feelings for Spirit of Justice. And maybe that's because I do see a lot more. And maybe it's because I just see maybe the glass half full. I do see the good potential it could have had.
Well, that's another reason why I hate it, is how much potential was wasted in it.
How much potential?
Yeah. But
yeah.
I said now for the 10th time we should probably wrap this up because we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes and I have to download this to upload it.
Yeah. Thanks a bunch.
No
again.
problem. Next stream will probably.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Mm-hmm. Next stream will probably be next month. Probably early in the month. We've done it on the first Thursday of every month so far. So if we can keep that going, I'd like to actually keep that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Me too.
First Thursday. I'm on board with that. The first Thursday of June is, if calendar would load, June 1st. That's Canada Day.
All right.
The only thing is that I will be working on I'm going to be working with Barrow Asso Week on that, because that's going to be Barrow Asso Week.
Is that Barrow Asso Week? Shoot. Well, you can work on that. You can work on that, but don't make your calendar clear for Canada Day. I know I will, because I ain't celebrating Canada. So next stream will, if we're all free, be June 1st. Other than that, I don't think we have anything going on. That's the wrong screen. I don't think we have anything going on.
And yeah,
not that I know of.
Check out the blog that all three of us have run at some point or are currently running. AskAceAttorney.tumblr.com.
Yeah, Ask Ace Attorney.
Actually, I do have a personal update. I have a personal update. I'm finally probably getting a job, which means that once I raise enough money, I might actually be able to start streaming again.
Yeah, I'm also going to be going to college very soon this coming fall.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that's all the updates. Next stream will be June 1st. Thank you all so much for watching. And have a good morning. And if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Truman Show. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.